I always thought the biggest gift I could give my family was to stay useful. That's what we do, women like me. We bake the pies, keep the peace, write the checks when no one else steps up. So when my granddaughter Emma got engaged last fall, I felt this warmth inside me. The kind that bubbles up when the world feels full again. She was my first grandbaby. I held her in the hospital before her mother even did. I remember whispering, "I'll always show up for you." They were planning a bridal shower that spring. Something special. Something elevated. I don't remember who said that word first. Probably her daddy, my son Kyle. He's always reaching for something shinier than where we came from. Anyway, I told them not to worry about the cost. I had some money tucked away, about $24,000, saved over the years from my pension and a life insurance payout from my late husband. It wasn't a fortune, but it was more than I'd ever spent on myself. I found this lovely little place just outside Franklin, an old horse farm turned event venue. White barn, hanging lanterns, wildflowers as far as the eye could see. It felt like something from a dream, but not a fancy dream, a southern dream, one with sweet tea and linen napkins and cousins laughing under string lights. I imagined Emma walking in with her friends, seeing the floral arch I ordered, the custom cookies shaped like wedding dresses. I even had her name monogrammed onto the table runners, EM, in soft gold thread. I didn't do it to be praised. I just thought maybe for once I could be part of the celebration, not in the background, not in the kitchen, but at the table. Kyle thanked me once, over text. "Appreciate it, Mom. It's going to be a great event." That was it. I told myself it was enough. I believed it was enough. Back then, I didn't know what they were saying behind my back. I didn't know they had other plans. I just knew I was trying. That was all I'd ever done. And I really thought this time, maybe I belonged. It was a Wednesday evening when it happened. I'd just gotten off the phone with the bakery, buttercream roses in peach and ivory, Emma's favorite, and I figured I'd send a photo of the sample cake to the group chat. Now let me be clear, I'm not tech savvy, but I know how to press and hold a picture and hit send. That night, I must have tapped the wrong thread, because what popped up wasn't the cake chat. It was a message I hadn't seen before, and I wish I never had. It was Kyle, my son. The boy I raised on spaghetti and hope. His message sat there like a slap. "Mom's gonna show up in one of her belt cardigans again, isn't she? We need this shower to look classy, not like a church potluck." Then his wife, Brittany, chimed in. "We could say it's just for Emma's friends. A girls only thing, she'll understand." And then Emma. Sweet Emma. She didn't defend me. She didn't say a word, just sent one of those little laughing face emojis. I stared at the screen for a long time. You know that feeling when the blood drains from your face? Like someone pulled a string in your chest and everything fell through? That's what it felt like. It wasn't just what they said, it was who said it. My son. The same boy who used to beg me not to leave him at preschool. The same man who years ago said I was the glue of this family. And now, I was an eyesore to be hidden. I put the phone down, sat in silence. The cake photo still blinking on my screen like some cruel joke. I didn't cry, not yet. I just stood up, walked to the sink, and stared out the window like I was waiting for something. Maybe an apology. Maybe for it to not be real. But it was real. I typed out one short message in the thread. "Hope it's lovely. Wishing you all the best." Then I powered off my phone. Just like that. I'd never felt more alone. And I'd lived through burying a husband and sleeping beside an empty pillow for 15 years. But this was different. This was being erased while still standing in the room. The morning after I read the messages, I woke up before sunrise like I always do. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Even the floorboards didn't creak like they usually did when I walked toward the kitchen. I filled the kettle, set it on the stove, and reached for the Earl Grey. It was muscle memory at this point. Boil, steep, sip, breathe. But that morning, everything felt distant, like I was floating just a few inches above my own life. When the kettle whistled, I didn't move. I just sat there, hands in my lap, listening to that high, hollow scream echo off the walls. That scream felt more like me than I did. I stared at the invitation list still pinned to the fridge, the fabric swatches from the florist, the receipt from the catering company, all of it. Every detail I'd poured myself into felt like it belonged to someone else now. I stood up slowly and walked over to the drawer where I kept the file folder labeled Emma's Shower. I flipped it open, took a deep breath, and then picked up the phone. "Hi, this is Ruth Morgan," I said, as calmly as I could. "I'd like to cancel the June 17th reservation. No reschedule, just cancel, please." The woman on the other end sounded surprised. "Are you sure, Ms. Morgan? We can waive the cancellation fee if something's come up." "No need," I said. "I have other plans for the money." And I did. That afternoon, I drove to the First Light Women's Center, the nonprofit I'd volunteered at years ago, and handed them a check for $24,000. I told them to use it for skills training and scholarships for women over 50 who'd been laid off or left behind. I didn't say why. I just smiled, shook hands, and walked away. That night, I packed away the tea favors into a cardboard box marked donation. I folded the monogrammed table linens, still stiff from the packaging, and placed them gently in with the rest. The house was quiet again, but this time it wasn't peaceful. It was hollow. I wasn't sad. I wasn't angry. I just felt erased. And when you've spent your whole life being useful, nothing feels more painful than realizing you've become invisible. A week passed. No one called. No one asked why the shower was canceled. Not Emma. Not Kyle. Not even a single, "Are you okay, Mom?" And maybe that silence hurt worse than the message ever did. I spent those days cleaning out drawers, as if scrubbing my house might somehow scrub the ache out of my chest. In the back of a filing cabinet, behind old utility bills and birthday cards, I found a padded envelope I hadn't seen in years. It was from my mother, handwritten, yellowed at the edges. "Dear Ruth, I want you to know I've changed the will. The house is yours now. You were the one who stayed. You were the one who sacrificed. I'm sorry it took me so long to say it out loud. Love, Mama." I remembered this letter. I'd given it to Kyle after her funeral, back when I was still too grief-stricken to think clearly. He said it wouldn't hold up, that the official documents named all of us equally, that fighting over it would make me look greedy. So I let it go. But now, holding that letter again, something shifted. I took it to the bank, asked to check the deed on the house. The clerk pulled up the screen and squinted. "It's in your son's name, ma'am. Has been for 6 years." My mouth went dry. "That's not right," I said. "Looks like it was transferred using a limited power of attorney document," she said gently. "Signed by you." I remembered the day. He'd brought papers after my knee surgery, told me it was just to handle insurance stuff while I was healing. I'd signed without reading. I sat in my car for a long time after that. The world outside moved like slow molasses, but inside me, something snapped into focus. This wasn't just about a canceled party. It wasn't even about being called basic. It was about the quiet theft of dignity, of identity, of everything I'd built and preserved and paid for, piece by piece, in silence. And this time, I wasn't going to let it go. We hosted the dinner on a Saturday evening in mid-June. Technically, Lena hosted it. She sent the invitations. She arranged the caterer. She told my family we were filming a short documentary on Southern family traditions. They showed up fast. Emma arrived in heels too high for gravel, wearing a silky green dress and looking like a picture from a magazine. Kyle followed, all buttoned up in a navy blazer, shaking hands like a politician. Brittany clung to his arm, flashing that polite Southern smile that never quite reached her eyes. They didn't suspect a thing. The dining hall was simple: whitewashed walls, oak tables, candlelight. I wore a soft blue dress I'd had for years. Nothing fancy, nothing loud, just me. We made it through the salad course before Lena gave me the signal. One small nod from across the room. I stood. "Thank you all for coming tonight," I said. "This has been a long time coming." Forks clinked against plates. Emma sipped her wine too fast. For years, I've been proud to stand quietly in the background of this family. I've sent checks, baked cakes, sewed hems, and smiled in the back row of every photo. I paused. But lately, I've started asking myself, what happens when the people you love stop seeing you? What happens when the only thing they expect from you is silence? Kyle shifted in his seat. Emma stared at the floor. I canceled the bridal shower, I continued, because I saw what was written. I saw what was said, and I saw that I wasn't invited, not really. I reached into my bag and pulled out the letter. My mother left me this house. In her words, you were the one who stayed. You were the one who sacrificed. I gave this to Kyle after her funeral. He told me it didn't matter. I looked directly at him. But it did. It does. Then I pulled out the bank documents, copies of the deed transfer, the power of attorney form, and the statement showing the house was no longer mine. No one asked how that happened, but I did. The room went still. No defense. No apology. Just the sound of a mother finally saying what she'd swallowed for years. And this time, I didn't sit back down because they were done listening. I sat because I was finally done being silent. The day the ruling came in, I was folding laundry on the back porch when the lawyer called. "We won," she said. "The court reinstated the deed. The house is yours again, Ms. Morgan." I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I just folded a dish towel a little slower and whispered, "Thank you." It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't even about the house anymore. It was about being seen, being counted, being real again. That night, I sat on the porch with a notebook and a pen. The stars came out one by one, like they'd been waiting for me to notice them again, and I wrote 3 words at the top of the page. The Porch Light Project, that's what I called it. With help from Lena and a few neighbors, I turned the old house into a space for women like me. Women who'd given their best years to others and were ready to claim a little piece of something for themselves. We put in new flooring, painted the walls soft yellow, bought a secondhand bookshelf and filled it with memoirs, poetry, cookbooks, and hope. Emma came by a few weeks later. No makeup, hair pulled back, just her. She sat beside me on the swing, quiet for a long time. "Grandma," she said, "I didn't know what I was saying. I didn't think. I just wanted to fit in." I nodded. "I know, sweetheart. That's what I spent most of my life trying to do." Then she handed me a little frame. Inside it was the group text, the one that broke my heart, printed out and crossed through in gold ink. Underneath, in her handwriting, "You weren't basic. You were the foundation." I don't remember if I cried. I just remember hugging her. And for the first time in a long time, it wasn't me holding her up. We held each other, and that was enough. These days, the porch light stays on all night. Women come and go, some just for tea, some to cry, some to start over. And every time I greet them the same way. You belong here, because I know what it feels like to be erased, and I know now what it means to return. Not loud, not angry, just whole. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, if you've ever stayed quiet to keep the peace, or if someone once told you that you were too basic, too much, or not enough, I want you to know, you're not alone. You are not forgotten. Tell me your story in the comments. I read every single one, and if this story found you at just the right time, let me know where in the world you're watching from, because your voice, it matters here.